This is a fortunate generation, a generation that saw the decolonization of Africa, the establishment of more democratic and inclusive systems of government, and unprecedented growth. Above all, we've found the means to resolve our differences and overcome our challenges. From our bitter experiences, we have learned vital lessons, fashioned new norms, and forged new instruments. We've built the African Union to articulate our common vision and take command of our common agenda. However, we are again in danger of being overwhelmed by the challenges before us. We are facing continuing crises of military takeovers and contested transitions, violent extremism, and polarizing wars. The list is long. Too often, the African approach is shunted aside and actively undermined, sometimes by external actors, but also by ourselves. We've pursued short-term interests and failed to respect the norms we have so painstakingly nurtured. It's time that we take the lead in defining our problems and leading our solutions, lest others do it for us.
To quell the disturbance, lights turned out.
Monsieur le Président, የሚገባውን ትክክለኛ ፍርድ ለመጠየቅ ዛሬ በዚህ ቀርቤያለሁ። ምክንያቱም ወታደሮቹ ቦምቡ በወደቀ ጊዜ
Last May in Addis Ababa, there was convened a meeting of heads of African states and governments. For 3 days, the 32 nations presented at that conference our position vis-à-vis the power blocks as identified with the policy of non-alignment. Our past history testifies to the fact that we've always endeavored to cooperate with all nations.
We, the heads of African states and governments assembled in the city of Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, determined to safeguard and consolidate the hard-won independence as well as the sovereignty and territorial integrity of our
The OAU's indispensable role demonstrated what we could achieve when unified behind a common goal. We achieved nothing less than the liberation of the African continent.
Free at last. And I stand therefore before you humbled by your courage.
After completing liberation, it became clear that the OAU and its non-interference policy couldn't solve Africa's deepest crisis. Victorious in one historic struggle, we were ill-prepared for others when they came. These failures reminded us that we can neither wait for nor expect decisive assistance from the rest of the world.
I'm quite sure that we will continue to respond with the same vigor to the objectives that we spelled out in the Constitutive Act.
By founding the African Union, we resolved to transform to become collectively what we would need to be to heal the wounds of the past and achieve lasting peace and security as a foundation for development and democracy. We took on responsibility for stopping mass atrocities, if necessary, by intervening in one another's internal affairs. We prohibited coups and unconstitutional changes of government. We've set up a far-reaching peace and security architecture. Among our greatest achievements have been African-led peace initiatives and peace support operations. The African Union has steadfastly upheld the principle of not recognizing unconstitutional changes in government. More and more, African countries are committing their troops to peacekeeping duties, wearing both the AU's green helmets and the UN's blue ones. After 20 years of declining conflicts, war and atrocity are once again on the increase. New violent polarities are emerging, driven by the war on terror and spreading strife in the Middle East. Africa's success in promoting peace and security was rooted in our mastery of our own agenda. Our progress in reducing coups, ending wars, and promoting dialogue as a means of preventing and managing conflicts was greatest when we took the lead in defining our own problems and in organizing the conversation on how to resolve them. African solutions have always been by far the most effective at solving African problems. As our commitment to unity and self-help began to slip, so too did peace and security in Africa. African negotiations for a peaceful resolution of the war in Libya in 2011 were brushed aside by an international enthusiasm for forcible regime change. But the principle of responsibility to protect R2P was ours. It emerged in Africa, based on the African experience and balanced with other key considerations such as inclusive political process allowing for a negotiated transition in power. Our approach was summarily disregarded. As time passes, the wisdom of Africa's position on Libya becomes clearer and clearer. It's also clear why we couldn't prevail. We failed to unite and speak with one voice. In Libya, AU members said mediation to one another, but intervention to the UN. We should not be surprised that they failed to hear us. We must learn from our mistakes. We must remember that the AU's strength lies not in military power or economic clout. It lies in mastering its own agenda and providing moral and political leadership. Central to that is our African practice of bringing everyone together and talking. The tradition of talking through a problem, sitting in the shade of a tree, allowing everyone to have a voice, and only stopping when consensus is reached. We must assert the primacy of the political. And that primacy means making it a priority to prevent conflicts and to find peaceful resolution of conflicts and rebuff those who see military solutions being preferable to political ones. It means setting African political agendas within Africa and establishing political partnerships of equals with outside actors. If this means trimming our operations to fit our resources, then so be it. And it means promoting progressive political norms, stopping atrocities, promoting democracy and constitutionalism, and bringing everyone to the peace table. The AU has the capabilities. It has the needed principles and decision-making organs. We have the capacities for peacemaking, but we need resolve and coordination. The African Union can conduct peacekeeping by consent. When African nations come together to mount an enforcement operation, they should do it according to African principles, bearing in mind that we cannot achieve political leadership if we remain financially dependent on others. A multilateral organization can authorize its members to fight, but it cannot fight a war itself, and it should not fight wars for others. We have accomplished great things before, and we will again, by confronting our biggest challenges head-on and combining our strengths and political will to achieve objectives far greater than our individual capabilities allow.